Hi, welcome back. In today's lesson, we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about sticking. This is going to be an adjunct video to curriculum step 57. And as a prerequisite, I'd like you to watch videos 1 through 25 of the curriculum. In Wing Chun, it's very common to use sticking or trapping to help reach your goals. Lots of folks don't really understand sticking that well. I get a lot of questions about this, and they kind of, what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes today and actually go over sticking and one of the ways that you can use this to your advantage when you're fighting or when you're training to fight. Now, lots of people will tend to think when I'm doing my chi sao, when I'm doing my wooden dummy form, that I want to stick at all times. I want to practice sticking. I want to practice being in contact and controlling the other person. And this isn't a bad perspective. But I'd like to offer a different perspective. I'd like to offer something else as well to supplement your current thinking or your current way of training. And I'd like to get you to think about sticking, not in terms of sticking for the sake of sticking or sticking all the time. I'd like you to start to think in terms of sticking and unsticking. I'd like you to think about chi sao or about your wooden dummy form or about other drills, other exercises where you're going to perform sticking to the other person. And I'd like you to think of it in terms of a competition. So what you're going to do is you're going to compete for control. You're going to compete to control or track or trap the other person's hands. As you know, in the chi sao drill, one of the things we do is we have a competition for distance. So I'm going to try and enter into my opponent's boundaries while they try to enter into mine. I'm going to try and enter into their boundaries while I keep my own. So in order to do this, we're going to apply not just sticking, I'm going to have to apply unsticking. So if I want to enter into my opponent's boundary, then I'm going to have to do so in a way. What I'm going to have to do is make sure that I'm not being controlled. My hand has to be free to go in. If my partner is sticking to my hand, it won't be free to go in. So what I have to do is I have to play a game whereby I stick when I want to control my opponent, my partner, and I unstick when I want my hand to fly, when I want my hand to be free and go in. So it becomes a competition where I want to stick when I want to stick. I want to control my opponent so that they don't get a free hand to fly in and hit me. And I also want my opponent to do the same thing. I want my opponent to think, oh, they have to stick to me so that I can't fly my hand in. So we're both trying, at times that are opportune for us, we're both trying to stick to the other opponent so they can't attack and we can control them. And we're simultaneously trying to unstick from them so that we can fly a hand in. So this makes a competition. I don't want you to think about sticking in terms of, I always have to be stuck to my opponent. That would cause a little bit like sticking too much. So what I want to think of is, I'm not trying to stay stuck all the time, like glued on permanently. I want you to think about sticking when it makes sense and unsticking when it makes sense. Now there's a fair bit of skill necessary to unstick, especially if your opponent or your partner is skilled at sticking. And that's where the fun comes in. That's where the game really starts. They're going to try and control my hands. They're going to stick to me and try to take me off of the line, while I try to unstick from them and fly my hand up the line. Now, as I try to fly my hand up the line, I'm going to have to control their hand, which means one of my hands is going to have to be sticking and controlling, while one is unstuck from them. So now we really start to get into the sort of nuts and bolts of the game. I'm going to give you a few examples here in a minute, but I just want to kind of offer a different way of thinking about this game, where instead of being stuck all the time or trying to maximize how much you're stuck to your opponent or your partner, I want you to think, when should I be stuck to my opponent, and when should I be unstuck to fly a hand? And that's all I'd like to say about sticking for this lesson. Once again, I thank you all for watching. I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, bye for now.